Okay, let's get this thing going. Welcome to the 1776 Syndicate. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We got some great guests. If you are not caught up on the videos on the back end, you need to catch up because we've had wonderful guests across the board, from legislators, people involved with schools, authors, scholars, and Rod and I, of course, have been here every week. So anyways, catch up on those videos. So the intent of the 1776 Syndicate is to educate people that are running for office on important issues or things that matter or make a difference in our country. And if you haven't noticed, some of the people that we've had have brought that type of educational value. So it's not always somebody that's running for office that's our guest, but somebody that will add value to your messaging and what you're trying to do. And so we think it's important to give you well-rounded information. And that's where we're at today. So if you're on the call, we appreciate it. If you're watching this in the future, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're a member. And the generals are right around the corner. So let's not take for granted that this is going to be a red wave. You should be running to the finish line, helping somebody out, making the donations that you can make, doing everything that you can do, because it's going to only get uglier. And I can't imagine what this country is going to look like when there is a red wave during the generals, between the generals and January of 2023, right? So be ready for it. Watch your dollars, be prepared. Things are going to tighten up. They're going to continue to tighten up. And by the way, watch the rhetoric. They're starting to throw a lot of mud out there in the media. Don't believe everything you hear. And I don't care if you listen to Fox News or Aaron Flint in the morning. Double check everything. And by the way, that came from Aaron Flint. He said, you should be double checking me. And if you're not in Montana, he's kind of our local conservative radio DJ host in the morning that does a great job for conservatives. But even he's saying, double check what you're hearing, because now you're starting to see conspiracies about Trump and the vaccines and all this stuff he's doing. Don't believe that stuff. All right. Look into it. Be well informed. Fight the fight. Okay. So tonight, as Rod pointed out before we went live, we're doing something different. I actually have a guest live in my home studio where I record all of the Answer Yes podcasts, almost 3 a week. Today I've got Cowboy Bill in the studio, and Cowboy is here to talk about veterans and what his organization does, which goes by the name of Valor. And I had the opportunity to attend one of his events. I didn't know what to expect. It was with Bill the night before with our state legislator, John Fuller. And we were talking about our vets. And Bill says, it'd mean a lot to me if you guys were able to come by in the morning if you're not doing anything. Well, we weren't, so we couldn't argue that. And John and I rallied and we showed up, and we had a chance to meet some of the vets in this program. And I didn't expect that Cowboy was going to ask us to speak, but we did. We spoke. And, the perspective that I walked away from is how incredible these people are and the sacrifice that they made for this country, and how easily they're forgotten, are left aside, or we don't realize in our daily lives the freedoms that we've been given because of their sacrifices. And Bill and I were at an event with John Fuller the other night, and we met somebody who lost a vet recently. Matter of fact, the funeral's not for another week. And to hear that story and the struggles, it was the last thing I expected at this event I was at. But, this is all around us. People are hurting. If you've seen it in my personal stuff, I follow Sean Whalen with Lions Not Sheep. He just lost a vet last week, and he's got over 1 million followers on his social media. And he says, look, gentlemen, stop what you're doing. And I'm going to encourage you to do this right now too, by the way. As soon as this call's over, as soon as you're done listening to this recording, or push pause, reach out to somebody. Tell them that you care. Tell them that you love them. Offer your help. Offer your advice. Offer to be there for them or their family. There's people hurting out there, and we don't even know it. All right, so take a minute to do that. So, I can't do Bill justice by talking about Valor myself. So he's here. We'll let him talk about it, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A. So, Bill,
Thank you.
thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
Right.
All right, I've never done a Zoom thing in my life, so this is new to me. I'm looking at myself on a screen and it's weird. Okay. So, as Jim said, my name is Bill Miles. Most people know me as Cowboy. I moved to Montana 29 and a half years ago after getting out of the Air Force. I served in Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and my job title was Crash Fire Rescue. I am blessed to call Montana home. I came here before we got invaded. But at the same time, I believe every state has good people. And when I say good people, I believe people that love veterans and first responders, people that still stand up and salute the flag and honor the national anthem, which I believe is very important. We need to get back to our roots. So a little bit about me, my background, I served crash fire rescue in the military. I got out, became a firefighter, served in law enforcement as a deputy sheriff, a narcotics officer, and a police officer. So I see both sides of the equation for law enforcement and first responders. And I became part of Valor 4 years ago. We were founded in 2013. What Valor Equine Therapy is we run a horse program. It is not a riding program. It is simply a horse program. And what it is, we vet everyone that comes through the program. We meet with them. We take them to lunch. We visit with them because every single one of us that are going to watch this in the days to come understands, you know, a veteran, you know, a first responder. It may be search and rescue. It may be a cop, maybe a deputy, maybe a doctor. A doctor is a first responder. So is a nurse. We teach people that the traumas they experience, they witness, that they don't have to live with them every day. And what we do is we call it taking off the mask. We connect them with a horse. A horse is got the biggest heart, way bigger than ours. So what we do is we bring you into the arena. We welcome you. It's private. We don't make it public. We ask so much of our veterans and we ask so much of our first responders, but we stop there and we don't look past the veteran's wife or the children. You know, dad's been deployed 4 times in 9 years. The kids kind of get used to dad's gone, now dad's home. When dad comes home, dad doesn't get the help he needs because we just sent a young man off to a war. He experiences death. He experiences battle buddies getting killed, people he served with. The same goes for our first responders. You got the cop that just went to a car crash and there's 3 people dead and he knows one of them. He comes home. When I worked the street and it cost me my marriage because I didn't get help fast enough, I would come home after a hard day as a cop. Maybe I dealt with a suicide that day. Maybe it was a veteran suicide. And I could not talk about it to my wife and my daughter. So I would hold it in and hold it in and hold it in. And then when we did have a conversation, I would blow up. That's human nature. We all have it. We all experience it. We have a bad day. Something didn't go our way. We don't learn to talk about it. But when you're a cop, you're a soldier, you're a firefighter, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're tough. You don't want to talk about it. The reason you don't talk about it is because you have this mask on that you're tougher than this. I'm not going to let this get to me. But it does get to you, and it got to me. So what we do is we meet on Friday evenings, and we have dinner, and we meet, and we just watch the class gel together. Then on Saturday, we introduce them to the horses. We let the horses pick the student. The student doesn't get to pick the horse. We have classroom time. We do that on Saturday, and then we wrap up on Sunday as our 3-day program. We also have a 6-week program where we meet for 2.5 hours every Wednesday for 6 consecutive weeks. All dinner meals are provided, and we have workbooks so that people can work through things that they have experienced. Again, everyone watching this, everyone knows a veteran. It takes no effort in any of our lives to reach out and check on somebody that served or somebody that's serving their community today. And if we want to help them, maybe they're looking for help. Maybe they're looking for you to be the call to make that might save their life. So I'm very good friends with the police chief here in Kalispell. Several years ago, he shared a story with me. 2 years ago in 1 month, I lost 5 veterans that I was working with through Valor. And they were from other parts of the country. But I took it hard. I took it really hard because I blamed me. I was carrying their burdens, but it wasn't me. They were beyond what I could help them with at that point. But the chief told me, he said, there's a story of a young man walking down a beach. And on this beach are tons, just thousands of crabs that have washed up. And the little boy would stop and pick the crab up and throw him back in. And he did this for miles and hours. And he come way down the beach, and there's a gentleman sitting there in a chair with a Gilligan's Island hat on and a fishing pole fishing. And he told the young man, he goes, "You can't save them all." Little boy picked the last one up. He said, "But I can save that one." And our job is to save just one. 22 veterans a day, 22 men and women who serve the greatest nation on earth every day are taking their lives. Divorces, all-time high with our military, our police, our firefighters, our first responders. We're passing something on to the next generation that we can help. It's up to us to make that initial call. I experienced my brother, Don. Let me back up a little bit. I grew up in West Virginia. Yes, I know, hillbilly. I catch it. I went to Marshall University at 16 and started getting my degree in fire science, served in the Air Force's crash fire rescue. My oldest brother, Jeff, was a tank commander in the Army. Mark was a Navy corpsman. Don went in the Marines. I went in the Air Force. I always figured I'd never see combat. I figured I'd never see another country. Well, it was 6 months after I joined. I was 18 years old. I grew up dirt poor. Didn't know I was poor. If we didn't kill it or grow it, we didn't eat. So going into the military was a whole new thing for us. And for those of you who will watch this, you know someone out there that may grew up just like me or grew up like you did. It's a whole new world. It's a transition. They just went from being an individual to being part of a team. And when you're part of a team, there's no I in team. And when there's no I in team, they don't reach out and ask for help when they actually need it. So long story short, our program is proven. We were just named for the second year in a row by our governor, the #1 equine therapy program in the streets and in the state. Since June 1st, we have had 733 veterans and first responders reach out to us, many from other states that are wanting to travel to Montana to attend our program. The program is free. It doesn't cost them anything. We take care of their housing. We take care of their transportation, whatever we need to do to get them to the program to make them better. And then once a year, we hold an alumni barbecue and we invite them back and we check on them. We do battle buddy checks every week. Our board members are made up of 3 veterans. 3 of them are combat veterans. And we have some really good people on our board. We just believe that we can change the world, and we are. So with Valor, we're a total nonprofit. We have a waiting list right now to get through people to come and get through our class. We have a class coming this weekend. It's full. Right now, we're working on securing an arena in Eureka, Montana, which is about 50 miles north of where I'm at right now, Kalispell, because we have a large amount of veterans up there. And if we can secure an arena up there, we will begin doing programs there. The class this weekend, we have people coming from Libby, which is about 100 miles from here. We have 1 local. We have someone coming from Missoula and another one from Helena. Our goal is to grow, and we are growing, and we're growing very well. But we can't grow without support of our community. We take donations. We invite anyone who is a veteran or first responder, whether you're active or former, come try us out. Come take our program. You'll leave with something good, I promise you. I hit a dead spot here, sorry. I think the key between our program and any other veterans programs, there's 52 veteran-based nonprofits in Flathead County, Montana. We're the only program that serves the veteran and family. And we're talking about the children too. We also are the only program that serves the first responder and the family. We're not counselors, but when you come to our program, you become part of a bigger picture. You become part of our family. We just had a class several weeks ago that Jim and John Fuller came to. We were very honored to have them there, and they got to see firsthand the healing power of horses. It is imperative that if you know a veteran, even if he looks okay, even if you think he's okay, take the time to make that phone call, drop a text. Hey, you got time for a cup of coffee? Let's have a drink. You got time for lunch? Check them out. make sure they're okay, because it's the hardest step for veterans and first responders. And this is crucial, is understanding that they're asking for help without them ever using those words. I need help. I've taken calls at 2:30 in the morning and driven 60 miles to take a gun out of a veteran's hand. Do things a little different now, always take someone with me. But it's all about saving one. If you're willing to donate to Valor, or you want more information, you can look us up. We're online, Valor Equine Therapy Services, VETS for short. We're building a new Facebook page right now and an Instagram page. We've come a long ways. We're growing. And I would stress to you to help us make the difference in the world. We can find all kinds of negative in the world every day. I'm working with a veteran right now. Obviously, I won't use his name, but he reached out 2 weeks ago. He just did 13 years. He was only stateside for 18 months. He just got out. He flew from Syria to New York to Seattle, Seattle back to Kalispell, and he called. He says, I'm in a bad place. I don't know what to do. Can you talk to me? So I met with him. Talk to him every day now. He's in our program this week. He doesn't have a mission. He doesn't have a mission because he's not serving his country right now. And he's now dealing with the battle scars of things that he saw in a faraway land, protecting the freedom that you and I have every single day. So I'm asking you to start. Call the people in your community. Check on your cops. Check on your firefighters. Check on your veterans. Check on that veteran's wife. You know, our veterans don't get paid squat to what they need. They don't get paid nearly enough. We ask so much of them. Sign a dotted line, willing to pay with their own blood, their own life, their own heartbeat for the defense of our country. That's quite a sacrifice. And that sacrifice means it comes with consequences. And it's up to us to start the healing process with them. I think that's about all I got.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Rod, I know you had your hand up. If you want to go ahead and throw some question Bill's way. I know I've got a few myself, but go ahead.
Yeah, I've got several. I want to verify first for people listening in, to get to your website. That's Valor Equine Therapy Services, VETS. Is that .org? Do you know if
It's
that's
a .com.
It's a .com.
It's .com. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'll put it in the
just
show
to get
notes.
that information out there, make it easy to find.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to do, Bill, is I want to thank you for your service first and for your service now, both of which are equally as important. And being a vet myself, but not a combat vet, and having two first responders, a son and a son-in-law, I know what this is like. And I really want to commend you for reaching out to the spouses and children, because they are the unsung heroes in these wars that our country has called our soldiers to, because they are soldiering at home, and too often we as a society miss out on that. We do focus on the veterans, and we need to, but the fact that you're focusing on the spouses and the children is so absolutely necessary. And I think if you could raise the volume on that in any way with other organizations, maybe they will follow suit with what you're doing, because I think that's absolutely critical. A couple of things came to mind while you were talking, and I'm going to run through them quick and then have you address them, because I do want your opinion on some of them.
Okay.
I was asked today, a bunch of people were saying, actually it was yesterday on Monday, they said, Monday Night Football's back, football's back. And I asked them, I said, are they still kneeling? Because I've not watched it since Colin Take a Knee Kaepernick started the whole kneeling thing. So
that makes two of us.
Yeah, so I don't know, and now I saw today that the NBA is just about as bad. So I know that that's a topical cultural issue, but it's such an affront to veterans and first responders that it's personal. And I don't think they understand that making a statement like that is one thing, but how they're going about it, it takes it to a personal level. And maybe I'll let you respond to that first, if you will, and then I'll go off.
Here's my viewpoint on it. So when I served, I was, man, I've been out 26 years. When I served, we didn't have cell phones. We had a bag phone, and we were lucky to get to call home from overseas once every 4 or 5 months. In today's world, we have social media. Everybody's got a cell phone. So right now we're doing this Zoom meeting. There's veterans serving in Syria and Afghanistan and Iraq and all over there protecting our rights here and trying to keep another country safe. And they're exposed to the hate towards the military, the hate towards the police, the hate towards first responders, statues coming down, burning the flag. And you gotta know in your heart, they're asking themselves, why am I here? Do they not understand that I haven't seen my wife in 2 years? I missed my baby's birth. So I think for the most part, veterans and first responders and their families, they don't care about pro sports. If you can't stand for the flag, feel free to leave. That's my feelings. You know me, I am patriotic. I think a flag should be in everybody's yard, on everybody's house. The Pledge of Allegiance should be quoted by every single person, every single day in every school. So I think it does affect the mentality of our soldiers over there. This gentleman literally spent less than a year and a half in States out of 12 years in combat the whole time. So when I tell you from my heart, he doesn't have a mission, that's imperative. What's sad to me though, Rod, and what scares me, he's one that reached out. How many haven't reached out? That's why I believe what we do is crucial to making them put that mask off, realize they did the job they were supposed to do. Now you're home, and now you're going to become part of our family. And we're going to work with you. We're going to make you better, and we're going to follow up on you. And we're going to make sure you have time to have coffee. Or when you say, you know, I just don't have time, I'm going to knock on your door, and you're going to be like, oh, you're here. Yeah, I've got time for coffee. Looks like you do too. It starts with us. So in a nutshell, to answer your question, the flag burning, the kneeling, all that shenanigans, it absolutely affects the mindset of those that are overseas serving right now. I believe that with all my heart.
Thanks. And that's not surprising, but I would love to hear veterans' take on that as well. Active duty ones, you know, and I know I've seen some of it on social media, but it's just such an important issue because professional sports and what, you know, the fan base of professional sports is big. It's a huge demographic, and so many people just take it for granted that it's just their source of entertainment and nothing more. But it's doing damage.
That absolutely is.
Yeah, I think we as spectators have to take some responsibility for that. And I guess that's kind of, you know, my launch pad into that whole conversation is we have a responsibility to make it known that there is an issue, and there are actions and reactions that are happening from, you know, that one statement. And I'm kind of simple, you know, keep politics and sports separate. You got your freedom of speech when you're not on the field, do whatever you want, but it would be so much easier to handle it that way. But I'm not a professional team owner, so I'll leave it at that. my next question for you, Bill, is you know, I spent 7 years in the National Guard, and you know that people as oh, National Guard, you know, it's kind of like the JV team, right? But in the last several decades, our National Guard and Reserve have been called on and activated. So it's one thing, and I know when you're on active duty, you know, your mindset is you're on 24/7, you know, 365 days a year. But when you're taken out of, you know, a civilian job from your weekend drills and your 2-week trainings, and now you're thrust into combat and come back, there's a different kind of shock that happens to those people. And I've got several friends and acquaintances, both in the Guard and the Reserve, and their reaction to their post-traumatic stress is there, but it's different. And people don't take it, I think, as seriously as the people who are, serving, like you said, for 13 years straight, or 20 years and never coming home. So if you could address that just a little bit as well.
So to me, whether you're guard, reserve, or full-time, we noticed in Desert Storm and then after 9/11, our guards nationwide were activated. And exactly the way you put it, we took people out of their homes. They left their wives, their kids behind. Moms had to leave. Dads had to leave. They were no longer working at the bank. They weren't working in the deli. We thrust them into combat and then we sent them back. They served their mission, but were they allowed to come back and heal from what they saw? Because we have so many people that serve in the military that don't get out of the States. I look at it this way: whether you served in combat or not, you're a veteran. You wrote a blank check for your life for our freedom. So I think one of the things that we struggle with now, I know our guard unit here in Kalispell has been deployed multiple times, and we have a lot of veterans in this valley. I think unless anything's changed, we have the highest concentration of veterans in Northwest Montana than we do anywhere in the state. I know that our VA clinic here serves 38,000 veterans just in Flathead County. Now, some of them come from Lincoln County and Sanders County and Glacier County, but that's how many we serve here. So I do believe that our guard and our reservists, if they're activated or they never serve overseas, they still have the ability and still deserve the same services as the veteran that didn't ship out, because we injected them with how many vaccines, and then we train them, and then we put them through live fire trainings and see things, and then they come home. And what scares me the most, Rod, is we pass that on to our children. I'm going to get personal here for a minute. I put my daughter through hell due to PTS. I dropped the D. The government calls it a disorder. I call it being damaged, whether it exposure to chemicals or things that I shouldn't have seen at 18 years old, but I did. That's what I signed up for. But post-traumatic stress is deadly. And it takes people like yourself and myself and others that understand there is a need for help. And that's where we step in. And one thing I'll add too, I have a lot of veterans that come and they're allergic to horses. So what I do is, if I know they're not a good fit for our program, I pass them on to another program locally, whether it be Underwater Soldiers, Braveheart Chaplains Ministry, it might be Homeward for Heroes, it might be the Northwestern Montana Vietnam Veterans Association, the Flathead Marines, because not everyone's going to fit into our program. But it's still a contact, and I'm still responsible to make sure that veteran or that spouse or those children get the help that they need.
Thanks. And it's great to hear that you're so well connected and networked. And again, just thanks for bringing that message out, because so many times people think veterans and they think active duty veterans, and you're right. You put that uniform on, it's the blank check. And that blank check is signed with the oath, which is signed in blood, right? So,
sir,
totally get it. Jim, do you want to jump in? I got two more questions, but I feel like I'm hogging the floor. So
yeah, you're hogging the floor, Rod. What's interesting is today I saw a gentleman in the parking lot that was wearing the Underwater Soldiers shirt, and I didn't know till just now what that was. I'm putting two and two together, but that's unfortunate, right? Because I'm willing to help and give where I can and support where I can, and I feel like there's not enough marketability or marketing behind these companies. And I think marketing's too general of a term or too shallow of a term, because we use that for business and we're talking about people's lives. But Bill, what I'm wondering is, how does the everyday person like myself, my wife, my relatives learn where these resources are so we can pass them along to somebody in need? And how do you get the message out there? How do these people find you? Is it easy, or do we need more resources to make it easier for them?
We need more resources. We print pamphlets, brochures, business cards. I went through 5,000 business cards in 3 years, just ordered some more. It's about making the connection with the right person. And we're in the process of having a new website completely built. And if you log on to our website, and you send an email, it's going to come to me. If I don't pick it up real quick, it gets picked up by our executive director or one of our instructors. And then we follow up with each other every single day. Hey, did you get this one? Yep, boom. Okay, you might connect with him better. He served Air Force or he served Marines, or we don't let them slip through the cracks. And I'm proud to say that, because the government lets too many slip through the cracks. So our resources to be on the World Wide Web are getting there. We're updating everything we have right now, because since June, it's been like drinking from a fire hydrant. It has been very heavy.
Yeah. So Bill, it's kind of tough to do this in studio stuff without the better camera. But the other thing that I'm curious about, your organization, you said you've had 733 contacts.
733 since June the 16th.
Since June the 16th. I mean, it's just an astronomical number. What happens, or how do you contend with the people that are on the waiting list that need help? Like what is there for them right now?
So the ones that are on a waiting list for us right now, we still do a battle buddy check. We call them, we encourage them, we text them. I may take them to the Nugget, and we may have coffee. We may go to Sykes. We connect them through all of our board members. Everybody has a certain amount of battle buddies, but I vet them. And when I use the term vet them, if they're allergic to horses, or maybe, hey, we're willing to come through the classroom program at 6 weeks long, but we don't want to have anything to do with horses, then I can kick them off to Joe at Underwater Soldiers. And when I say kick them off, I don't just hand them off. I follow up to make sure that veteran is getting what he needs from whatever program he goes to.
So another follow-up question, then I'll throw it back to you, Rod. Our group with the syndicate, we have people that are aspiring to run for office or be more educated. How can our elected officials help your program, whether it's obviously financial is something you need, but is there any legislative laws, or is there any local laws or ways that elected officials can help what you're doing?
The biggest thing to me with our elected officials is when they go to session, look at all the veterans organizations that are within the state, and how are we funding them from a state level? Are we providing enough housing for our veterans? Right now, we have so many people in this valley that are homeless. We have so many veterans that are homeless, and they do HUD vouchers. And we're waiting on this guy to get into an apartment. Right now, he's living in a motel, eating out every day, hoping to get the medical care. We're short-staffed at our VA clinic right now, historically low. It's pathetic, the amount of staff we have at our VA clinic right now, trying to serve 40,000 veterans. I think the crucial thing is when we have our elected officials go into session, that one of the priorities needs to be public safety and taking care of those who have taken care of us and came home hurt or wounded. Because at the end of the day, if we forget them, how likely is somebody else going to step up and want to go serve when they've seen what their dad's gone through, or their mom, or their brother?
A great point. Rod, I'll throw it back to you.
Well, Jim, I just want to thank you for bringing that point up, because as we get close to the general election here, that's a question people need to be asking the candidates. Where do you stand on veterans issues? And just point blanket, throw it out there and find out if they've even given it some thought. Is it on their radar? And are they willing to go to bat? Or let's put it in military terms, are they willing to go to guns? Because this is fighting stuff. We have to fight for every dollar that is allocated out there. And we need legislators that understand this and will go to guns and go to bat for the veterans. And so everyone who's watching this, before you go to general elections, and those of you who are running for office and watching this, if you don't have veterans, on high on your priority list on your platform, you better bump it up. And that's just because it needs to be done. Number one, it's the right thing to do. And number two, it's going to serve you well, in the election process, because we've got people who are waking up to what's going on out there, and a lot of veterans are out there, and we're going to get them to vote. So thanks, Jim, for bringing that up, because I know it's a critical issue.
One of the things I'd like to point out too is Jeff Patterson out of Tura, Montana, founded the Herd to Human program for horses, and it is VA approved. And Jeff has invested a lot of time and a lot of money into this program. And when the election cycle changed and we got Governor Giaforte, at one point there was $542 million in unspent COVID funds. And we wrote grants like crazy for our veterans organizations. We got nothing. We got absolutely nothing. Where'd the money go? I know we need good highways. I know we need good doctor's offices, and we need traffic lights. How much are we willing to spend to save one who served us? You can't put a cost on it, Rod. You just can't. And thank you for your service, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you. I appreciate it. So a couple of things that struck me as you were talking, and that's just, I had the great fortune to spend a weekend working next to a veteran, a combat veteran who's been back. And it's just interesting if you lend your ear and let people talk and let them know it's a safe place to talk. I felt like a counselor, but it's just let people talk, open up and ask those questions, because sometimes they just want to talk and share. And it's absolutely fundamental that we hear their stories. We as voters, as citizens in this country, need to understand the stories. And we're not going to get it if they're bottled up inside of people. No. I'm saying for veterans, you need to tell your story. It's necessary to tell your story. And that's because that's what's going to keep this country free, is people that don't serve empathizing, truly empathizing with those who do and those who did. And the story, and that's going to, I think, help with I'm not a psychiatrist, but I play one on TV or on Zoom. So I'll share a quick story here. My mother was a first responder. She was an ER nurse in small town in eastern Montana, but she dealt with death, industrial accidents, children getting run over by cars, car wrecks, old folks dying. We were next to the poorest reservation in Montana, and the life expectancy was 40 years old for a male Native American. My mom saw a lot of death and dying, and my dad was in construction. He was kind of rough. But we had this thing. I was one of 6 kids, and we sat around the table every night and we talked. And my mom would talk about what happened, because we would ask, we saw the ambulance go by, what happened? And mom would speak freely about, the death of a child and the parents, the mourning and stuff. And my dad had this attitude, and I'll pass it on because, my dad is no longer with us, but he taught me something that I carried into my family. And it was this: as long as you don't put it on my plate, you can talk about anything at all. And we talked about gore and death and blood while we were eating, because that's when we were all together. And it was a safe place. So the talking about it is so important, but it's not just the talking about it for the veterans, it's the listening on our end. And if you could speak to that a little bit in your therapy sessions, exactly how does that come about?
So when we do a program, and we're doing one this weekend, I'll have 3 instructors there. And when we do an application process, we ask them, what do you hope to gain out of the program? What are key things that you're struggling with? And then we meet as a group and we decide who's going to take who. And we actually pray over our students. That might offend some people. It ain't offending me. I pray over them that I have the right words and say the right things to make the right connection for that student, because I think that's crucial. And then we work with them, and maybe they've got 5 major issues, and maybe we only deal with one that weekend. But we don't just, when the class is over, we just don't kick them to the curb. I stay in contact. I probably I would guess I'm at 70 calls already this week where I'm checking on battle buddies that have been through the program, guys that are coming this weekend. What is crucial, you said something there about your mother being an ER nurse and the things she experienced. We live in a world right now where we're being silenced, and it's not cool to talk about it. We don't talk about those things. We don't talk about them at supper table. When I was a kid growing up, we had a black and white TV with aluminum foil. We got 2 channels. One was Lawrence Welk and Hee Haw, and the other one was local news. We got away from that in the last 30 years. I think sitting around a dinner table as a family is crucial to open communication. And that's something we bring to the table when we have people come through our program, is this is your time to speak. And maybe you're not comfortable speaking in a group, but you've got an instructor with you. And a lot of times when John and Jim came down to Triple Take Arena at our last program, they may not speak in front of other people, but when they're one-on-one with that instructor and they go in there and they'll say, hey, you know, this is what I'm really struggling with. We've dealt with it. We've seen it. We've experienced it. Maybe the instructor has too. One of our instructors did 3 tours, 1st Marine Battalion Division into Iraq. He's a very good instructor. All of our people are vetted and they do a good job, but I believe it's imperative that we openly invite them to speak and then listen and then do the follow-up to make sure, hey, you want to come back? Hey, you got time to grab a cup of coffee this weekend? Because I don't want to be that program, and we're not, that we give them the hand that they need to bring them back into the real world and then let them go. We don't do that. They become part of a brotherhood. They become part of patriots, and that's what they are. We ask so much of them, and yet we forget them when they come home. And this need is so great. It's not just in Kalispell. It's nationwide. It's not a PTS problem. It's not a war problem. It's a heart problem. And I believe that with all my heart. It is from the heart. You have to be willing to make a difference from your heart. People can write all the checks they want to Valor Equine Therapy. It's not the money that so much makes the difference as the people being able to come into that program and us giving them an opportunity to say, it's okay to cry. It's okay to share your story, because your story might be my story. It might be your story, Rod. It might be a story of your mother. It's about open communication, and we can be silenced, but we have to be willing to step forward in faith and say, you know what? I'm going to be your battle buddy. I'm going to walk you through this because I believe in you and I believe in what you did for my sacrifice. Let's get it going.
Thanks, Bill. I've got one final thing, Jim, but I'll turn it back over to you before I hit it.
Sorry, I'm in awe just thinking about what Bill just said. I've got 2 things. They're more statements, and it's just because of my experience with Cowboy here. You know, one is he's mentioned that John and I have been down to watch, you know, the group for, it was less than an hour, maybe an hour total. But what I'm thinking about as I'm listening to Cowboy talk today for the last 45 minutes about what he does, the people in the program, the purpose of the program, and why they're there. We're on a video. We're on Zoom. You're watching this on Zoom. We've got approximately 100 members, 98 of which will see this on Zoom. This isn't real life. Real life is walking into R&R, standing next to these individuals, hearing their heartbeat, listening to their voice live about what their struggles and their challenges are. These are real people that are going through something because of a sacrifice they made for our country. And if I can impress upon people that watch this video to realize these are real people. It's not a video. This isn't just a story. This isn't for your entertainment. I've met them firsthand. And as Bill said earlier, we've all met a veteran. We all know a veteran. We all know a first responder. They need our help. They need our support. They need to understand that there's people out there for them that can help save their lives. and we can bring that 22 veterans that die per day down. Because what a horrific statistic that is. It's even heartbreaking to hear that over 733 people have contacted Valor since June 16th. I wish that wasn't true. So if there's one takeaway from this call, realize these are real people. The second thing that I want to say that's my takeaway, knowing that a lot of people that watch this are going to be running for office, don't give up. Our veterans didn't have a chance to give up when they were serving. If you've raised your hand to run for office, don't give up. Don't give in. Don't stop fighting. You know, earlier this year, we had 41 candidates run for school board back in May. A third of them won those positions. The rest of them have basically disappeared. They've given up. And if you're one of those members that were fighting for that position back then and you're watching this now, get back in the fight. These veterans didn't give up on us. We shouldn't give up on them. And running for an elected position to play a role in our government and how things run and saving this country is as important now as it's ever been. And let's support what the vets have done, the opportunity that they've given us. So that's my second part of the message is don't give up.
Never give up.
You know, he mentioned John Fuller. John Fuller lost 4 elections before he finally got elected.
He never quit.
He never quit. And thank God he kept going, because now we have a solid foundation in the work that John Fuller's done. And by the way, all the other guests that we've had on this show, they're all solid foundations. So I'm going to leave it at those two things. Rod, if you want to give us a closing and parting word, we'll close it out from there and let us know what you're talking about next week.
Okay. So first, as you were talking originally, Bill, it dawned on me that the lessons that we learn from how we treat our veterans, you know, there was an old adage, and I don't know where it came from, but they say you can tell what a culture is like, but by how the people treat their livestock and their pets, right? If they're cruel or not, you know, are they sympathetic to life? And I look at how we treat our vets is really, it's the mirror on who we are as a people, right? I mean, these are humans. These aren't just pets and livestock, and we should be held to a higher standard. And the other thing that came to mind was, you know, I had a son that left and worked in the oil fields and wind farms and everything for 8 years. He left his family behind. So he wasn't a veteran, but he was serving his family and serving his country by being a great taxpayer, which I taught him to do, right? He was a great taxpayer. And being gone and missing out, for even regular people, there are lessons we all can learn from the veterans, and talking and reaching out when you need help, because there's that post-traumatic stress is not just with veterans, it's for anyone. The first responders, you know, the sheriffs, the police that leave every day, and then they end up, you know, not coming home at the end of a shift for another 6 hours or whatever. You know, there's post-traumatic stress that the whole family's experiencing all across the board. And it's the people out there earning a living and doing everything. So we can learn from what you're doing. You know, all of society can learn. And I think that's an important message to take away also, that if you're not willing to do it for someone else, do it for yourself, do it for your own family, and then see what happens. You'll be called to serve, and dig in your pockets, donate, help when you can. And if nothing else, listen, you know, pick up the phone and reach out and listen, because we're not alone. And Bill, again, I said at the beginning, I thank you so much for your service. And now I'm going to switch gears, because what we have next week is Dr. Ed Berry, author, speaker, teacher. He's going to be talking about the myth of man-made global warming. And he is a climate scientist, doctor, PhD, who does have a peer-reviewed published paper on why this is a fallacy. And we're going to be asking him why that message isn't getting out there.
I love it.
So
hey, Rod,
that'll be next week, and we look forward to having you, any of our other guests out there. it will be a great eye opener for us. Jim, back to you. Thank you again.
Yep, thanks. And we're looking forward to next week as well. Cowboy does have a final thought, and I'll echo what you said, and that's, we appreciate what you're doing for the vets. We hope we can shed some light on that through this program, what we're doing, and if nothing else, maybe some elected officials will give it a second thought, and the initiatives that they put forward as elected officials. So I'll let you close this out.
So I get asked often, how do I deal with what I deal with? And I go to the VA, I see a counselor, because I do tend to carry the burdens of those that we're trying to serve. But one of the things most people don't know is I write poetry, and I want to share this poem because it might bless you all. I wrote this, and I just want to share it. And I want to thank you all for the time given me tonight. I'm blessed, and it's not about me. It's about within each and every single one of us watching this video, we have the ability to change someone's life for the better, whether they be a veteran or first responder. So I'll read this poem I wrote. America Veteran. What exactly is a veteran, and just what does that name mean? A young or real old soldier, maybe somewhere in between. What they do or who they are, where they're from or where they serve. Does it really even matter? For respect is what's deserved. They wrote their name on a paper, willing to pay with their own blood to protect the USA. Now that's what I call love. It wasn't for the money, but a calling from deep within to keep this homeland safe from those that hate within. It's time away from a family and a commitment to be the best, to protect our valued freedoms, and each veteran has passed the test. For they put forth a contribution that can't be valued for the cost. White crosses over many graves for those that fought and lost. It's missed meals and birthdays and homesickness for those far away, and the prayers sent up are countless for a safe return someday. So to me, it's really simple. The title veteran is earned by choice, a duty to serve no matter the cost, and it makes my eyes get moist. So when you meet a veteran, remember this, my friend. It's because of them and their battle scars you'll live in freedom to the end. Thank you for your time.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. There's nothing else to say. See you next week.